Hello! I am back with another book review, and this time we are talking The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. Now, I picked this book, which is a middle grade book, because I found the writing fantastic. So I think that my review is mostly going to focus on that, but I am going to quickly touch on the synopsis, which I don't think could be put any better than the synopsis written on the back of the book, so I'm going to read that to you. Once there was magic. This is the story of a young boy wizard and a young girl warrior brought up as enemies, but have they been so busy fighting that an ancient evil has returned unnoticed? I could not put that any better or more succinctly myself. That's exactly what this book is about. It's also about unlikely friendships and following your heart and dealing with adversity, and I honestly think this is such a fantastic read for middle grade readers. The author, Cressida Cowell, deals with some pretty heavy subject matter. She deals with death, she deals with enemies, she deals with evil, and she doesn't shy away from those topics and try to whimsy them up or brush them under the carpet or pretend that they don't exist. They're very present, and I really appreciated that, because I think a lot of the time authors can shy away from dealing with those kinds of heavier topics, especially in these middle grade or younger books, but unfortunately, these are the kinds of things that all of us have to deal with in our lives, and sometimes you have to deal with them from a young age. And so I think it's really good that Cressida dealt with it in this book and dealt with it sensitively, but in a way that made the reader, and if I put myself in the shoes of a young reader, I would understand the gravity of those themes and how important they are. So I think that the themes that were dealt with and the way that they were dealt with was really quite impressive. And the other thing that I really enjoyed was the way that this was written. So Cressida Cowell uses language in a way that enables the young reader to develop their vocabulary without it feeling as though the writer is talking down to them and talking to them in a way that is patronising. And the benefit of that as well is that it's enjoyable not just for the middle grade target audience, but also for the older reader, myself included. It was really enjoyable and I flew through it. I read it in just over 24 hours during a work week, so it is an easy read for an older audience, but I still found it really enjoyable. So as usual in these reviews, I do want to do a brief reading, but I think it's particularly relevant in this review because I think that the writing itself is just great, especially for the target audience. Also, this book is chock full of illustrations and fun formatting, so I really enjoyed that as well. Prologue. Once there was magic. It was a long time ago in a British Isles so old it did not know it was the British Isles yet, and the magic lived in the dark forests. Perhaps you feel that you know what a dark forest looks like. Well, I can tell you right now that you don't. These were forests darker than you would believe possible, darker than ink spots, darker than midnight, darker than space itself, and as twisted and as tangled as a witch's heart. They were what is now known as wildwoods, and they stretched as far in every direction as you can possibly imagine, only stopping when they reached the sea. There were many types of humans living in the wildwoods: the wizards, who were magic, and the warriors, who were not. The wizards had lived in the wildwoods for as long as anyone could remember, and they were intending to live there forever, along with all the other magic things, until the warriors came. The warriors invaded from across the seas, and though they had no magic, they brought a new weapon that they called iron, and iron was the only thing that magic could not work on. The warriors had iron swords and iron shields and iron armour, and even the horrifying magic of the witches was powerless against this metal. First, the warriors fought the witches and drove them into extinction in a long and terrible battle. Nobody cried for witches were bad magic, the worst sort of magic, the kind of magic that tore wings from larks and killed for fun and could end the world and everyone in it. But the warriors did not stop there. The warriors thought that just because some magic was bad, that meant that all magic was bad, and now the warriors were trying to get rid of the wizards too, and the ogres, and the werewolves, and the untidy, quarrelling mess of good sprites and bad sprites that burned like little stars through the darkness, casting mischievous spells on each other, and the giants who moved slow and careful through the undergrowth, larger than mammoths and peaceable as babies. The warriors had sworn that they would not rest until they had destroyed every last bit of magic in the whole of that dark forest, which they were chopping down as fast as they could with their iron axes to build their forts and their fields and their new modern world. This is the story of a young boy wizard and a young girl warrior who have been taught since birth to hate each other like poison. The story begins with the discovery of a gigantic black feather. Could it be that the wizards and the warriors have been so busy fighting each other that they have not noticed the return of an ancient evil? Could that feather really be the feather of a witch? And so I think you can tell just from that small excerpt that the writing is really, really carefully crafted. And also what you didn't see was that there's a lot of use of italics and of different sizes of text, including capitalization. There's also throughout the book, small characters have smaller size font and big characters like giants have bigger size font, and I think those kinds of devices will give a younger reader a bit more of an impression of the scale of things that they're reading from, but it also teaches them about emphasis in sentences and where emphasis should go, because when you're young you don't necessarily know that you should put more emphasis on one word than another. It's all about intonation, and a young reader needs that additional help to understand intonation when they're reading a book, which is something I don't like in an adult novel because I feel like I'm being patronised, but in this it's entirely necessary and a really, really great technique that is used to help develop a reader's vocabulary and a reader's understanding of the written language. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I can't wait to pick up the second one. The only reason I haven't is because it's not out in paperback yet and I just don't want to buy the hardback. I think it's out next month in paperback, so I will be picking it up when it is. So overall, I was really impressed by this book. It was a really enjoyable story and it was really well written and dealt with some really fantastic themes in a very sensitive way. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks! Bye!